What's going on, guys? Let's go ahead, jump straight into the topics. There is so much going on in this hobby right now, but I wanted to touch base on this a couple days ago, but work has been crazy. I have been getting less sleep, and I am just starting to get back into a healthy routine, which is really important. Baby, I'm making a video right now. Dada's making a video right now. I think it's really important for you to take care of your mental health and your physical health, and take care of yourself in general. If you're not taking care of yourself, it's going to be harder to keep up with all this stuff. And I would be lying if I said that I was able to always make content in the best version of myself, the best mood, the best mental state. Sometimes I just don't even feel like it, and I still am like, let's just push through it. There's this topic, or there's this card I want to show. Let's just cover this today. But I'm taking that more and more seriously as I go on with YouTube, and knowing myself enough to know that I don't have to make content every day. I can push stuff back and take a day off and relax and spend more time with my family, and just give myself a little bit more grace, I think, overall. But okay, let's jump into it. All right, we're going to be talking about the Japanese modern market. We're going to be talking about box breaks and what can go wrong. And this kind of is perfect because it's just, it just adds to the fact of why I probably will never do box breaks, like public box breaks for everybody. It's something that I've been asked about a lot. And I think that what we're going to talk about today is a perfect reason of why I do not want to do box breaks. And then finally, inappropriate Pokemon YouTube content. We're getting to a point, I feel like, where it's kind of hard to draw a line. So let's go ahead. You know what? I'm going to start with the inappropriate content. Well, let's go with that, and then we'll talk about the Japanese market, and we'll end with the box breaks, and kind of the drama going on there, as well as kind of current news, even though I guess it's a couple days old now. So in terms of inappropriate content, there was a Pokemon YouTuber, I guess you wouldn't even say Pokemon YouTuber, I would just say a family Pokemon channel that is not so family friendly. Now, this was brought up by another really big YouTuber, and the reason I'm being a little vague is because I don't really want to stir up anything. I don't really like drama, and I also, to another YouTuber's point, don't want to put a spotlight on the channel that some of us think is maybe a little inappropriate or not family friendly, and then your bad press is good press, right? What do I mean by that? I mean that even when it's negative news, it can still be a positive force kind of for people trying to grow their channel, right? Even if you're getting negative comments or people hating on your channel, it's still more people coming into your channel. Anyways, it's super cringy. It's super bad. Opossum, pretty much, I meant to not point out names, but I guess I've already broken that rule. He did a video on this, on it not being so family friendly. And what is it, Orion? First off, what are you even talking about, Orion? Well, we're talking about a channel with a mom that is opening up Pokemon cards with her son. That sounds wholesome. That sounds great. What's wrong with that? Got no issues with that right off the bat. That sounds like a wholesome, awesome Pokemon channel. And I think more and more we are seeing parents do Pokemon channels with their kids. I think it's awesome. I think that, obviously your kid's gonna act a little different on camera than you, might feel silly, but at the same point, part of being a good parent is being silly. And I think, we talk about parents raising the kid when really the parents should be looking up to the kid and being raised and learning from the kid and having fun with the kid. So I think that that's great when you bring Pokemon into the mix and you have, a kid and their parent both together. Sometimes Aspen, my daughter, she's only 2, but even my 2-year-old sometimes comes into the live streams and will open up and show some cards, and it's fun. It can be wholesome. That's something that for me is a little difficult because I want to conduct my channel in a certain way, and I do take it seriously, and I am passionate about it. So it'd be harder for me to do that with Aspen, I think, because she'd probably just throw cards around and be a little silly. But this mom, her kid's a little bit older. They're opening up Pokemon cards together. No issues with that. The issue was that she was pretty much exposing herself. Now, is this really that crazy? It doesn't surprise me. It doesn't really surprise me. And when I mean exposing herself, I mean wearing very sexualized clothing. And even that isn't like pushing it too much, right? Because people can express themselves, be themselves. It is YouTube, but you are putting yourself out there for the entire world to judge and see. And you have to take that into account. And, it's not even the mom that I feel like bad for or judgmental of. Is really the kid, and that kid is still going through, you know, middle school or high school. If people find that content and want to rail the kid about it, that content is single-handedly ruined that kid's high school career, middle school, or the kids will think it's really cool. Who knows? I don't know. But there was a point in one of the earlier videos that this content creator created where she jumped around and her boob slipped out of the side of her shirt. Now, why is this kind of weird? It's weird. It's kind of cringy. It's just bad. But that's just my opinion on it. I looked at it and immediately cringed without even having to watch any of her content. But it's not unusual for that type of, I guess, showiness or nudity, partial nudity to be on YouTube. If you guys aren't blind, you can see that YouTube is now basically allowing borderline, like YouTube is allowing people to show themselves exposed more often now, and it's not even a weird thing anymore. Like people are basically doing try on hauls where they try on clothing, and it's borderline nudity, but they're able to, you know, disclose that, hey, this isn't about showing my body, this is about showing the clothes and whatever. So people are already doing this on YouTube, and YouTube is allowing it, which is a weird space, right? Because people are now, instead of watching porn, they're going to be watching this kind of content on YouTube of people doing try-on hauls and wasting their time, right? The modern male is wasting a lot of time watching stupid videos like this. Why do I know that? Because I've been on YouTube. I've been on TikTok. I see the kinds of things that are popping up that the algorithm is trying to push onto us. And guys, I would highly recommend, just as hard as it can be sometimes, brush past that content. Do not watch that content. You are wasting your time. And that's kind of the real reason that I think people would rag on this content, is it's kind of like, okay, you're doing a thing where you're opening Pokemon cards, but the opening of Pokemon cards is irrelevant. This is really about like your image and showing who you are and showing off your body maybe in some way. So really kind of inappropriate content, really kind of weird. I don't really know what else to say other than that. It's just weird. But a really good point was made about our boy Opossum, which I wasn't going to say, but I already said his name, so that's already done. The other YouTube creator, which I'm not saying his name, but kudos to him for pointing this out, because it is true that putting a spotlight on that channel actually may have helped grow that channel. That channel grew since that video was created, of kind of not so family friendly content. So we have to be careful. Someone in that other YouTube creator's video said, yes, silence is, you know, the best method with some of these, you know, issues. And I don't necessarily agree with that, but maybe being more anonymous and talking about the subject instead of basically putting a spotlight on the channel that is doing said wrong, weird, inappropriate content, which in turn maybe even was a positive growth for that channel, right? Bad press is good press. So that's what I mean about that. So, you know, we have people in the hobby that are on top of like real fraudulent stuff, and like it's just weird content. It doesn't mean it's fraudulent or scandalous, maybe a little bit controversial. My main thing is I just hope that kid does not get bullied at school, because I was bullied horrendously, and I hate bullies, and I think everybody does. And you know, I think it's just normal for kids to make fun of each other, but once you find out that so-and-so's parents are making really embarrassing YouTube videos, opening Pokemon cards, like that could crush a kid's soul. So I worry about that kid. I hope that that's not something that spreads around at his school and he gets made fun of for, because that's just wrong. And hopefully that the mom making that content, hopefully she realizes what she's doing and she knows better than to, because it almost looks okay. Back on track to what I was saying, because apparently when someone calls my phone, it actually ends my video, so I don't know if I need to have do not disturb on. Anyways, moving forward, I think I'm done talking about inappropriate content and the controversial side of it, but I wish that person the best of luck with their content. Hopefully they tweak it a little bit. Maybe people even like the inappropriate style of, like, she's a little flashy, I guess. I'm not even gonna say anything else about that. But anyways, moving on. Kind of weird Pokemon content coming into the scene, but nothing really shocks me anymore. Anyways, let's move forward here. The Japanese Pokemon card market. I talked about this with vintage Grail cards, and I do think that they are in their whole other league, especially compared to vintage English cards. I think all of the markets have traced back a little bit. Alt arts, English, vintage, modern. I think the same thing is happening with Japanese. I don't necessarily feel like it's just Japanese, but Japanese is definitely taking a hardcore nosedive right now. And it kind of makes sense, right? When everyone was jumping on the Japanese bandwagon, I understand it's the origin of the Pokemon cards. The quality is amazing. There are so many great reasons to love the Japanese cards. I mean, the quality even for the standard VMAX cards is it's insane. If you haven't seen Japanese cards, you've got to just look at them in person whenever you go to shows or trade nights. They're really, really nice. And the same can be said for the vintage Japanese cards. But I think that market is falling hard because, one, people just prefer the English cards. And two, that was a very hyped up FOMO, bubble that was occurring in the past couple years, and everyone was jumping on Japanese, and it was like, I'm done with English. The print quality is crappy. They don't grade easily. That's one of the things that makes English desirable, especially in a grading sense. The cards are harder to grade. They're crappier to grade. And sometimes they're just a complete waste of time to try and grade. We saw a lot of quality control issues with 151. That was really worrisome for me. Luckily, it seemed like they stopped having those quality control issues. Some people even theorized, kind of in a conspiracy-like fashion that Pokemon was purposefully printing the cards horribly, maybe even damaging them. I don't really believe that to be the case. I just think that the print facilities are overrun in the US, trying to constantly print out cards, and probably the slicers or the blades or the way that they actually cut the cards, that probably has gotten dulled down over time. Maybe they had to replace that or update it. That's the kind of thing that I think has happened with English time and time again. I don't think they're printing nearly as many Japanese cards. I don't know that for a fact, so if somebody could leave some information on that in the comments below. I've never said that I am an expert on the hobby. I have been here for quite a while now, so I do feel a little more inclined to talk about these topics more in depth, but I don't know the whole printing facility, the whole process. All I can say is that typically English cards are harder to grade, and that makes them a little more desirable. Overall, not necessarily a good thing, but anyways, the Japanese market, the cards, the quality is better, the print quality is better. Usually they're really well centered. And with vintage, it makes the vintage cards a lot easier to grade and get high grades. But there was a lot of cards being graded, a lot of hype around Japanese cards the past couple years. And I just think that naturally that little bubble has kind of popped. And so we're seeing things fall heavily. I think that this is a great opportunity for the Grail Japanese cards. I was talking about PSA 10 Gold Star Pokemon cards, which we're even seeing some big name sellers list up, which means they've bought those cards and now they're selling those cards. Or maybe they're just on consignment. Either way, people are coming out of the woodwork and selling their high grade Japanese cards, and I would wonder why that is, why they aren't keeping them in their collections. I think people know deep down that the Japanese market just not only may not be as much of as an investment as English, but also that it's a risk. It's a risk. It could be contrarian. It could be one of those things where like nobody really wants the Japanese cards. So all the collectors that are like heavily into Japanese, they're collecting this stuff while it's very cheap still, and it's going to continue to rise. I think right now is a really easy way to look at Japanese as a contrarian investment because this stuff is tanking right now, and you can get a really good deal you can get a really good deal on these cards. This is the same reason why I know you guys love it when I mess up. This is the same reason why I think it's a good play to get into Japanese. It's the same reason why I talked about PSA 10 Gold Stars, because I look at it as a contrarian play. If this market is down right now and these cards are settling right now, there's still PSA 10 Grails, right? And some of them are way more valuable in Japanese. We could get into the whole talk about first edition and unlimited and the differences there. And basically, for anybody that doesn't know, I think they printed a lot more of first edition boxes in Japanese, first edition cards in Japanese. I'm not exactly sure the reason why that is, but they actually printed unlimited boxes less in Japanese. So in English, first edition, more valuable, more rare, and in some cases there even are unlimited English cards that are harder to grade and less and in a lower population than their first edition counterparts. So sometimes it even applies to English. There are some unlimited cards that are actually more valuable in terms of the lack of population of them. And when we talk about population, it's really important to know what people mean by low pop, right? It's the population of the cards, the number of cards in PSA's grading system, or I guess you could say CGC or Beckett. You can get low pop anywhere, but typically because PSA is kind of the brand name that most people go with, and I do want that to change. Most of my collection will stay PSA, but I want that to change. I want there to be other players. I still am a believer in CGC, even though they've got their own bag of issues, but so does PSA, especially recently with the huge scandal of the trimmed first edition Charizard. I am really not happy that slipped under PSA's radar, and I don't know currently if that's changed, if that card has been disabled. I would assume so. I would think that there's no way, with all the coverage on that card being trimmed, that there's a way that it's still an active certification. But anyways, low pop is really important, and typically with Japanese, the unlimited cards are lower pop. So this is why unlimited cards are actually worth more than the first editions. For Japanese, instead of English, where the first edition stamp is up pretty much on the middle left side of the card, well, my left, with Japanese, it's at the bottom. So basically, with Japanese, you're looking for that first edition stamp at the bottom. If it doesn't have a first edition stamp, it could be more valuable, but that's not always the case. It really varies by set from what I've read on E4, which is a fantastic resource. If you have any, questions or, things that you want to know, it's likely out there on the internet if you look hard enough for it. But the sets vary apparently in Japanese. Some sets, there's not much of a difference in first edition and unlimited. In some sets, the unlimited cards are way more valuable. So that's a little niche in itself that I think goes beyond just vintage prices, Japanese prices falling. And when I talk about Japanese prices falling, I'm not necessarily saying that that's vintage, even though vintage Japanese, you got a holo pretty much in every single pack. So there's a good reason why the holos are worth so much less in Japanese. They were much easier to grade. There were more of them available in terms of the probability of you getting those cards. Whereas in English, it was more of you had a 1 in 3 chance of getting a holo in most of the early sets. Additionally, when I'm talking about Japanese and that whole market overall, it really is not, I'm really not talking about grails. I'm really not talking about the niche of unlimited and first edition. I'm really talking about modern Japanese. And because that has been the biggest bubble overall over the last couple of years, has been modern Japanese. And, I think I think with modern Japanese, you have some of these cards that are way harder to pull, but overall, people are going into that because it's cheaper. There are all these benefits to going into modern Japanese. I think so many people piled onto that bandwagon that now things are starting to naturally settle. So we're seeing people take a step back from Japanese. This is important to me because I've been saying that I'm mainly going to continue to collect English. One, because fundamentally it's the language that I can read, right? That's the simple amateur answer, right? But truthfully, I like the borders on English cards. I like the yellow borders. I'm kind of bummed out a little bit that they've gone from that now to having the gray borders similar to Japanese. I think that was a mistake. I think that English should stick with their yellow borders, and hopefully they'll bring yellow borders back. But mainly, I like the English cards. I have no real big issue with collecting English cards. They're a little bit more expensive, and I guess a part of me feels patriotic in that sense that I'm like, no, America, English. I'm collecting English. That's the set that I'm going to believe in. But the reality is that we are the secondhand, we got Pokemon cards secondhand pretty much from Japan, right? Like, Japan was the first place that Pokemon became a thing. So no matter how you spin it, we have our own Pokemania in the US with the English market, but, it makes more sense. It actually does make a lot more sense to collect Japanese if you're going for the artwork, the quality, and, just the culture of where the hobby came from and its roots. And there are some incredible cards, the vending series, the card ass, the sealed ass. There are some, you guys might not even know what asses I'm talking about, but they are incredible. The sealed ass and the card ass cards are awesome, and I don't think that vintage market has been affected as much. Like, these niche Japanese markets are really still kind of booming, in my opinion, and they're still really cool and worth looking into. But really, the modern Japanese market is what I think people need to be worried about right now. Could be a great play if you're willing to take on the risk, or if you already have been collecting Japanese for a long time. Same old thing, okay? There's market fluctuations, but at the end of the day, Japanese is probably going to become popular again at some point, and the people that have been collecting Japanese, regardless, will say, I just collected it because I liked it, and there's something to be said for that. You should be proud of the things that you like to collect. Collect what you like. Anyways, yeah, so some interesting things going on with Japanese. I'm not exactly sure why that market is retracing so much, but it is. Meanwhile, the English market for modern cards is staying pretty solid. We're seeing a little bit of a bullish pattern beginning for a lot of modern alt arts. We're seeing the opposite for Japanese. A lot of those cards are going down in value, and even the English cards that are going down in value, their counterparts are going down in value less. So you guys can add to that. Feel free to add what you want to. This isn't a rip on Japanese. I think Japanese is dope. I have my own little vintage binder that has just Japanese in it. So there will always be an appreciation for Japanese, no doubt. But I am mainly sticking to English. I may even sell Japanese cards, but mainly sticking to English. And that's a safe bet for me, and it's what I would recommend to other people because it's what I personally see as being more stable. Anyways, moving forward, let's talk about box breaks. You guys know that I don't really like the idea of box breaks. It's not to say that there are some benefits to the community for box breaks. It's not to say that you can't pull some amazing things, like somebody opens a vintage pack and you're able to grade that card in a 10, and all because that person was willing to break the box live and allow everybody a chance to get in on a product like that. I don't think that there's anything wrong with box breaks in terms of, like, fundamentally they give people a great chance to open product. That's what it's all about. Eventually all the product is going to be open. It's silly of me to say that, like, it's somewhat silly to say that, these boxes should not be open. They're booster boxes. They're meant to be opened at some point in time, even the oldest ones. Speaking of, PokeRev just opened a first edition base set booster box. I am super excited to watch that stream. PokeRev was one of the people that, it's hard not to say that name in this hobby. one of the people that really made me want to make Pokemon based content and get into the whole, it wasn't necessarily like I'm going to break boxes all the time. That wasn't necessarily my goal. But I did wonder, like, what would that be like? Like, I loved trading cards. I loved Pokemon cards. Could I even do this with Yu-Gi-Oh at some point as well? So that would be fun for me. But, I only mentioned PokeRev because I'm really excited to get some popcorn and set some time aside to watch that stream. That'll be really exciting. Most of you guys know that I'm trying to recollect first edition base set, master set, and PSA 9. And I've got a couple of those cards crossed off the list. We got the Gyarados in a 9, first edition. We got Blastoise in a 9 recently, first edition. And we got Venusaur in a 9, first edition recently. So that was really exciting. Most of the cards that I've left are 5s, 6s, and 7s. So I probably will be getting rid of those eventually. I'm not rushed to. But mainly, this is a big deal because PokeRev pulled a first edition Charizard, and I am hoping that that doesn't send the market up a little bit more on those cards because I am actively looking for a PSA 9 first edition Charizard just to complete the big starter trio. That's like one of my favorite things. It's always been one of my favorite things. Just the OG cards and just going back to the roots of the the English side of the hobby. Those cards to me are invaluable, and I know most people don't care about first edition base. It's probably way too outdated, but it's not just first edition base. Like, I just love vintage. Last night I was looking at Gym Challenge and Gym Heroes all night, just saying like, wow, these cards in PSA 10 actually aren't that crazy. I think I've been looking at Grail cards for so long now, so consistently, that it's crazy to me when I look at less sought after cards, like, like just PSA 10 hollows, like Machamp's Giovanni in a PSA 10. I think I saw, there was a sold for like $180 or $200. And I'm like, I didn't even realize vintage PSA 10s were going for that cheap. So I have a lot of more information that I need to learn on, and it'll be fun in future videos to cover some of these sets that people have forgotten about. Some of these sets that I think are way cooler and way more important than any of the mid-era sets or any of the modern sets that we have today. Even though I think it's no surprise that modern era sets are doing really, really well. We'll be talking about that in tomorrow's video probably, or we'll do a mail day video tomorrow. Anyways, this is going on too long. A really big name in the Pokemon YouTube world did a box break a couple days ago. Maybe this is a week ago at this point. I feel like I am talking about this way too late. But you guys know who I'm talking about. If you're in this hobby vigilantly, is that a word? If you're in this hobby a lot, you will know who I'm talking about. They opened a Japanese box, and the packs, I guess, were Fugazi, full of not the cards that they were supposed to be full of, maybe resealed. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't watch the stream, but I know that it was catastrophic because I saw the community post after the fact apologizing to everybody that was a part of the stream, and that he didn't realize that the box was resealed or fake or whatever, and the people that sold it to him probably didn't realize it. So it's just a big mess. That's not okay, and he's probably fine. It probably didn't affect his channel very much, but that's not okay for people to experience that when they get really hyped up about going in on a box, something special like that on your channel. And, these box breaks, you are putting your reputation on the line to do these box breaks. Is it worth it? Is it worth it, to have a couple good box breaks and every now and again you have a fake box? Maybe that's just how it goes. But in my opinion, if I am selling something to people and getting people involved in something, that box would have to be opened and confirmed and authenticated far before I decide to have people get in on it. Like, I would have to do a video opening and confirming everything and opening a couple packs before I considered, okay, now we're going to let everybody get in on this. or it would be a live stream. Like, I don't know. I don't know how you do it. This is why I don't do box breaks, because I think, one, you're getting other people to buy in on something because you're not willing to take the risk of putting the money in it yourself. And two, you're upcharging people, so you're making money on people not knowing better that they can still probably find this stuff for cheaper. And then three, you're putting your reputation on the line, because if stuff goes wrong, that's your name, your reputation on the line, because at the end of the day, you're going to have, this channel in particular has 100,000 subscribers or more. And, you've got 100,000 people potentially that can see now that you open a box that you got people in on that was not an authentic, original, untampered product. And this also goes to say that English tampering is not safe. There's a lot of scandals going on with English booster boxes, vintage, modern, what have you. People got to be careful out here, right? It's getting scary. Fakes are getting scary. Fake cards, fake boxes, resealed stuff. It's definitely like, well, then who do I buy from, Ryan? Buy from sellers that have very high feedback, a huge number of transactions, right? These sellers that are selling booster boxes or booster box cases, or names in the hobby that you trust. And even then, you should always kind of double check stuff, do your due diligence. But, Japanese is not safe either. And somebody else made a video on that recently, but whatever you're buying, you need to be cautious of it. And especially when you're buying into box breaks, you need to be cautious of it. I was almost relieved to see that a box break had gone wrong for a big channel. Why, Ryan? Why would you hope that somebody had problems with a box break? Well, because I've been saying that I'm not going to do box breaks and that I don't really understand them. And I think that they are, in a lot of ways, detrimental to the hobby overall, detrimental to the vintage market. You're going to see more cards flooding onto the market because these boxes are getting broken. That's going to lower their value. So there's that. That doesn't matter as much as it's just tragic to see more and more boxes get opened that will never be out on the market again as a sealed product for someone to just enjoy in their collection. I am somebody that really wants to collect all of the vintage English sealed booster boxes at some point in my lifetime. I have no idea how I'm going to make that happen. Financially, it doesn't seem feasible. It doesn't seem like I'm going to be able to afford it or that it'll work out. But my bar is starting to have an uptick in business. I've put a lot of time and I've given up a lot of nights. Our karaoke night for the first time ever did really well last night. So I'm excited for that. But maybe the bar does better. Maybe my eBay does better. Maybe my YouTube does better. And it allows me to buy these products, these vintage booster boxes, and sit on them for the long term. But yeah, it just kills me when boxes are getting broken. Now, in this case, I don't really collect Japanese, so I don't really care that it was a vintage Japanese box getting broken, or I guess modern Japanese box getting broken. But it just goes to show that even with modern, there's tampering, there's stuff going wrong, there's fraudsters out there trying to take your money. So it's something to worry about, and even the big channels have to worry about. So that's kind of all I've got to say on that. But definitely drama. Definitely would not like to have to be refunding a bunch of people for packs that they bought into, trusting my stream, trusting my breaking. I would not have to deal with that. I'm sure people kind of brushed it off and were like, it's whatever, dude. I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sure they feel bad for the content creator, but clearly something went wrong in terms of due diligence, and I have nothing against that content creator. Everyone out here is just trying to do their thing. We're all trying to make content. We're all trying to make content that we think is good. I talk about inappropriate content and content being bad, but like, I don't think for anybody trying to make content on YouTube, there is no bad content, right? There's cringe, right? There's cringe, and there's me maybe not being the most informed, or getting my facts wrong, or mixing things up. That happens. I'm only human. But I think overall, anybody on YouTube, it should be a safe space where people can make content, even if it's weird or, not appropriate. They should feel like they can make content without people ragging on them. So this is not me ragging on, the person that did this box break recently, but I just don't see the point of getting people involved and then having a bunch of stress if something does go wrong. I guess for me, it's more of just the fear that something would go wrong during a box break, whether it's a technical error and people not trusting me, or, something happens, the box was legit, but the packs somehow are, messed up or look different because of a factory flaw. Like, I worry about all kinds of stuff. I have really high anxiety. Already making videos, I have some anxiety when I make videos. So it's no wonder why I wouldn't want to do box breaks. The pressure to perform, to provide everybody with an amazing experience, that's something that scares me. And it's the same reason why, I'm not having people buy in on these base unlimited packs. Guys, I will be opening packs that I paid for with my money, and I will be opening them at my own risk. I'm not going to get anybody else involved. I don't want to get anybody else involved. This will just be a fun thing for me to experience, but also, I don't have to worry about, potentially screwing anybody over or anybody not having a good pull and being unhappy with that experience. That's another thing, like, people are not going to always win in box breaks. And so they're going to shell out a bunch of money and get nothing out of it. And that's also not something you want to leave someone with. When you're doing box breaking, and including people in on it, we're all gambling already with this hobby, but you are just getting people deeper down that gambling rabbit hole. Anyways, to that point, we're wrapping up the video, and I hope you guys enjoyed. At 5,000 subscribers, we will be opening one of these heavy base set packs. I will be doing a video on that. I'm really excited. I'm going to take the box out of the case, and I'm going to take the wrapper off the box, even though it's just sitting on there. It's not a sealed box. I only have 8 heavy packs left, but everything is from the original box, so I'm really excited. I think our odds are really good of potentially pulling a Charizard from one of those 8 heavy packs. I will be opening those in intervals. I may sell some of the heavy packs just because it's a lot of money. But I'm hoping we can get some epic pulls early on. And if not, I will continue to open the packs probably until they're all gone, because I really want to pull a base set Charizard, even if it's an unlimited or a Blastoise or a Venusaur. Those are just incredible. I would love to have the experience of pulling those myself. So at 5,000 subscribers, we will be opening the first base set unlimited pack that's ever been opened on this channel. I'm really excited for that. We are going to pull a holo. I don't know what that's going to be, but it'll be sick. I think we are 100 plus subscribers away from hitting that goal. It's going to be really exciting. Anyways, tomorrow we'll either talk about the modern English booster box prices going up. Very exciting stuff as far as that. Typically, I don't get too excited about that stuff because it's just redundant. We're just talking about modern sealed product to the moon over and over and over again. It gets really old really quick. But sometimes when we do see a pretty significant jump, that's when I will pop in and be like, okay, this box made some moves. That's pretty sick. I hope everybody made some money, and hopefully everybody learned from the long term that if you sit on these products for a couple of years, they do give you returns. Maybe not better than an index fund, maybe not better than the stock market, but they still give you returns. Pokemon is indeed investable. We're seeing this with Evolving Skies right now. Tremendous gains with Evolving Skies. Unbelievable. Super dope. Really happy about it. And yeah, we're going to be holding on to that box for a long time. Yeah, we'll be talking about that tomorrow, or we'll do a mystery mail day since it's been a while since I did one of those. I just don't want to be bringing too much heat onto the channel. Anyways, all right, joking. Peace out, guys. Have a fantastic day, everybody.